Welcome to Pario Magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today, I am joined by an NRL star turned pro wrestler who is the current reigning and defending IWA heavyweight champion. Welcome to Pario Magazine, Jackson Kelly.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm chuffed at the intro. Can I just correct one thing? I didn't play NRL. I played rugby league, but I don't want to claim that I played in the NRL. I was a few rungs below it a long time ago, but I never made it to the top grade, which sad face, but is what it is. Yeah, but thank you.
Fair enough. So we're here today to chat about your journey in the world of wrestling and moving away from the football. Before we dive into that, who is Jackson Kelly away from the wrestling ring these days?
Jackson Kelly away from the wrestling ring. Just try. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to encapsulate because I do a lot of things away from wrestling. Wrestling was a very large part of my life for a lot of years, and in full honesty, it's becoming a bit smaller and smaller, despite the fact that I do love being involved. So yeah, I do a lot of things. I run a driving school business with my mother, which has been fun and interesting. I'm back at university to become a high school teacher. So, a few things happening outside of wrestling, but wrestling still remains, a fun thing that I like to do with my mates.
Okay. And then prior to getting into the world of wrestling, like we mentioned, you were a rising star with the Manly Sea Eagles development squad, playing alongside the likes of the NRL stars, Jake Trbojevic, Clint Gutherson. Do you still look back on those days fondly?
Yeah, I do. I think it was a pleasure for myself to be a part of that system. Again, I'm chuffed with the rising star comment, but in all honesty, I was just one of the guys who made up the numbers in the squad. I got a few games here and there. I had a few injuries along the way, which is a common story for a lot of guys in my position. There's those oftentimes jokes. Oh, I could have made it, but I got injured. I was never going to make it, but I knew. I was just there to have a bit of fun. I was good enough to be there. And yeah, it's honestly, I do look back fondly. I'm glad that I did it. It kept me fit and it gave me purpose at that time in my life. And I love watching the game today as a fan and watching, those guys, like you said, like the Trbojevic brothers and Clint Gutherson, Luke Garner, a few guys that I had the privilege to play with who are now playing in the NRL. It's really fun to see them making waves, and I still love the game. I still love going to Brookvale Oval and supporting the Sea Eagles. But yeah, that was a time in my life, a long time ago now. That was very fun. It was.
And you mentioned sort of feeling like you were never going to make it to the top level. Is that sort of what then pushed you to like, hey, let's pursue this other passion of mine and go down the wrestling path?
Yeah, it sort of did. Obviously, at the time, I was committed to rugby league. And like I said, I had a few injuries. I actually broke both my shoulders, had surgery, quite major surgery on both shoulders within the 3 months. So I did come back from that and I got a few games, but I knew in my head that physically I probably wasn't up to, getting to the NRL, to the next stage. So within my head, within the last year, I had already shifted my focus to something else. I stopped footy in 2014. That was my last year. And then 2015 was a bit of a year for me where I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I knew I had a bit of a desire to still remain athletic in that sense. I still wanted to train. I still wanted to be physical, use my body, but I just needed a purpose. And wrestling as a fan, growing up, I'd always had one eye on that, thinking, maybe that could be for me. The common story is you're not sure where. So in 2015, I decided to turn 2016, the next year, into the year that I started to train as a professional wrestler. So yeah, you could say that towards the end of my football career, I did channel my energies and my passion into a new endeavor, which was wrestling.
Given that you had the footy training background, was the transition easier, do you think?
Easy. I wouldn't say easy is the word that I would use. I definitely had a leg up on some other students at Black and Brave, which is where I went. In saying that, there were, in the class that I was in, there were a different crew of athletes, which, and they had their own strengths and advantages. I do think rugby league helped me, but it still wasn't easy. It was more of like a different kind. I honestly compared the 3 months that I did at Black and Brave with a 3-month preseason that I did with the Seagulls. Just a little bit different. Obviously, in rugby league, there's a lot of running. In wrestling, you're dealing with an 18 foot by 18 foot ring, so you're not quite clocking up the miles on your legs. But it's a lot of other kind of different physical challenges which I had to overcome. And yes, it helped me, but it was still very hard but rewarding, because I finished the 3 months and it was a super great feeling.
And then with wrestling, you just sort of have to develop a character. How much has the North Sydney region played into you as a person, and then as an athlete, and then furthermore as a wrestler?
Yeah, it's funny because like a lot. In short, it definitely, where I grew up on the northern beaches of Sydney, it's pretty much written all the stories for me in the last few years. So it's been super handy to have been able to have lent into the stereotype of the northern beaches. Obviously, my hair's a bit shorter now, but when I first started, I had the long blonde hair, I had the beard, still got the beard, but I was a caricature of the northern beaches. I was a beach bum. So it was good to lean into that, and then coming back to Australia, it's pretty easy to figure out that I come from a Seagulls background. I understand rugby league. I understand the culture of Sydney. If I'm going to portray myself from the northern beaches, from Manly, in other areas of Sydney and New South Wales, even across Australia, it's going to get a bit of heat. So that was, again, super. It was right there for me, and I decided to take it. I went down that avenue, and so far so good. It continues to work to this day. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it, which has been great.
And then, as I mentioned in the intro, you're the current IWA heavyweight champion, a title which has been held by the likes of Jonah Rock, Matt Cross, Ryan Eagles, Tyson Gibbs, Mark Mercedes. How does that feel to hold that prestigious title?
It's definitely an honor, because IWA was the first company to give me a crack when I came back to Australia in 2017, and I've put in a lot of effort and energy to that company. So to be rewarded with the championship in April of last year it's super meaningful, and to still carry it now, it's super meaningful, and I owe a lot of. I'm in debt to the company, so I want to make sure that the reign and the shows, when they pop up, it's the best value for money for the fans. So it is an honor, and all the names you mentioned, they have carried the company in the past throughout different stages of its life. IWA, longest running Australian company, I believe, in professional wrestling in this country. So for that reason, it is a massive honor to hold the championship, and I want to do it justice. So hopefully I'm doing that, and yeah, hopefully the reign goes on forever. Why not?
And then in terms of like trying to put on the best show possible, how do you describe an IWA show for maybe someone that hasn't been to a wrestling event before?
Yeah, IWA is a really fun show. IWA traditionally does a lot of shows out in regional New South Wales as well. So we sort of get the crowds that maybe don't see wrestling that often. Maybe once a year, you get the casual fans. So a part of an IWA show is to sort of educate the crowd on what wrestling is, what it can be, and then just give them a fun night of entertainment. We have a lot of punters who come to our show. So our show will go for 2 hours long. People will grab dinner beforehand at the club or the RSL where it typically is held, and just have a fun evening. And that's all we're there to do. So, IWA is a lot of fun, a lot of great wrestlers on the show. And part of my role, obviously I'm a heel champion. So I will, try and make sure that someone gets the upper hand on me towards the end of towards the end of the evening, just to send the crowd home happy. So, yeah, I love doing it. The crowds are always fun, and fingers crossed they keep coming back for it.
And you mentioned sort of running RSLs. Probably the one that is the most exciting for us is Dee Why RSL in the Northern Beaches. How special is it to be running a show there?
Super special. Like I said, I came back in 2017, and I was informed that IWA had done DY in the past, and growing up 5-10 minutes from there, I was like, oh, cool. Like, is that going to happen anytime in the future? And lucky enough for me, it was 6 months away, and then there was another DY show. I think that show in 2017 was the first time they ran in about 10 years in that venue. So yeah, super special for me because it is, I grew up going to the DYRSL when I was 18. We went and had a few goes on the, roulette tables and things like that. I've had plenty of nights out there. So to be told that we're going to run a show there, and I'm going to, feature as a large part of it, each time, trying to give the best possible show. Yeah, it's been super fun, and the crowd has been, really, really good. It blew me away the first time we did it, and then each time we've gone back there, it's just maintained its strength and its noise and the passion for wrestling. So every time we go back there, I think we've done 3 shows since I've come back, looking for a 4th, hopefully. But yeah, super fun show. I recommend, when it does happen in the not too distant future, fingers crossed, I recommend anyone to go down there.
Yeah, I wouldn't personally think of the Northern Beaches as like a hotbed for wrestling, but it seems to, the crowds there from the clips I've seen seem to be really red hot for the action.
Super red hot. Like I said, I was blown away by the first show we did there. I'm not sure if it's like I don't know what it is, man. Like if it's just like if they love wrestling, or if they just see that it's a wrestling show and it takes them back to their childhood. But we get a lot of families come, but then there's a lot of like energetic young adults as well in the crowd who are just there to have a good time. And that, as performers, allows us to have a really good time. And, like any wrestler will tell you, it's the performer, it's the crowd, it's the interaction. We feed off of each other in that. It's a bit of a symbiotic relationship, I think you can call it. And DY is a perfect example of that being super strong, back and forth. It's really cool. 350 plus in there. It's just amazing. It's a really good time.
And then you mentioned sort of wrestling sort of slowing down a little bit. Is there still like lofty dreams with wrestling, or just a fun weekend adventure now?
Yeah, I've got a lot of things going on outside of wrestling. So I do think that's probably a good way to put it for me personally. My lofty dreams are sort of coming to a close. I think I'm a bit more realistic about it now. I still want to contribute to the scene. I want to do my part. My focus has shifted away from me and more onto, allowing others to get the spotlight a little bit more, and playing my part in facilitating that. So yeah, I want to contribute to the scene here whenever and wherever I can. IWA, Newey Pro being the 2 shows that I contribute to the most, the shows that'll have me. So yeah, that's I dare say that's the best way I can describe it, is to just try and attempt to give others more of a chance to shine.
Mm-hmm. So then finally, where is the best place for people to support you and track your journey moving forward?
Yeah. Why not? I got my Instagram, got my Facebook page. So Jackson Kelly on Facebook. Instagram is Golden Boot Pro. No, it's something else now. Jackson Boot Kelly. That's right. I did change it recently. Yep. And yeah, but by all means, like I said, it's sort of not about me anymore. I want people to follow IWA, so International Wrestling Australia. By all means, jump on and follow them on social media, and Newcastle Pro Wrestling, who have quite a large show coming up in December at their City Hall, which is always a good time. Yeah, please, by all means, follow those guys.
Alrighty, wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and good luck with IWA and Newey Pro.
Thank you, Jamie. Much appreciated. Thanks for having me.